Three. Welcome, everybody. Chuck Cook, Jesse Buckets Bless, Greg Siskin. By the way, I heard the Red Sox suck again this year. Just FYI, Jesse.
I think they've lost the fan base for sure. People up here are vicious, man. I'm telling you, you can't lie to them. And they.
I have nothing to say as a Tennessee sports fan. Our teams, we've had 75.
Oh, we lost them.
Greg,
that's how bad it is.
Greg's at a conference and is at a table. Maybe somebody came along he had to talk to. He's hung up on us. That's why his head was kind of floating in the mirror there. Jess, we got a lot of things to talk about today. Yeah. What we're not really aligned to talk about is any update on our litigations, generally speaking, because nothing's happened on 601As. Although I will tell you this, and Greg confirmed, late August, they're doing late August now, and that's basically a whole month's movement within about 10 days. Yeah. So I'm actually pretty happy with them moving forward. Somebody posted on a listserv this morning that they, as a lawyer, that they had a whole bunch of cases moved to the Potomac Service Center. And I just emailed them and said, yeah, I know it says that, but it'll end up at Hart. Yeah. It'll end up at Hart.
The only update I have on the 601A is that I do know the Fourth Circuit heard argument on January 25th in the Lovo case. Oh. I don't know how it went though, because I haven't been able to contact any of the attorneys. But
they don't post their oral arguments online. Some circuits do, some don't.
I bet you they do, and I would need to go back and make time to listen to it. But I mean, I guess the news is it's one step closer to getting some appellate decisions on this issue. So,
and the Fourth Circuit has been really good on immigration in the last several years. So we may be a good decision.
I hope. I mean, they had the right people arguing it and briefing it, and it was strong. So I mean, the argument's right. I mean, it doesn't. I think there's jurisdiction to consider whether you can take forever.
Well, Aaron's not here today because he is writing the brief in the 601 case. That the brief is due on February 2nd. I believe it's due Friday. So Aaron's getting in pretty good shape for us. So we're good there. We don't have any update really on the United for Ukraine recovery of fees yet. Although, Jess, I had a woman come in my office yesterday. She was a U4U, came in February of 2022. And I said, did you pay a fee? She said, no.
Right.
But
what did she do?
Well, I don't know. I said, where's your receipt notice? Oh, I don't have it with me. You didn't pay a fee? No. Do you have your card? No, I haven't got my card yet. That's why I'm here. Wait a second.
Oh, my God.
You've been 2 years to have your card? What? That's insane. Yeah. So I may have more next week. She's going to be getting me her stuff, so we'll see what's going on there.
I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate that we haven't received any more news in that case. I mean, there's really two options. They're going to take the judge's recommendation and find a way to settle the case, or they're going to play another game of musical chairs and send us to the Court of Federal Claims again. And try it anyway.
We're not going to lose this case at the Court of Federal Claims. That's just not going to happen. So
it just makes it, again, I think the government's win would be to prolong and make it more difficult to give refugees back money they stole from them. I don't understand why that's a good thing.
It's an interest-free loan for the government, basically what this has become.
Well, let's talk also. Last week I mentioned EB-5 is over. We got it. All of our clients got their approvals. And okay, I want to talk about the appeal in the DC Circuit, because there's another appeal that people are freaking out about that they haven't issued a decision on.
January
6th or January 9th. This is the Trump case. They're sitting on the Trump case. Judge Henderson is on both panels, and people are literally losing their mind that they haven't issued a decision in 3 weeks. And I always see that. I always go, dude, welcome to the club. It could take a year and a half.
They're not going to take that much longer on that case.
No, I think the Trump case probably quickly here, but we have no news on the decision in our case. So,
well, it's interesting though. I mean, Greg is probably more into the weeds on the negotiations on Capitol Hill, but it is, the negotiation does really, in some ways, executive power to control the inflow and outflow of people, which is a real issue in our Go and Gomez case. So, I'm sure they're attuned to it, and maybe they need to issue a decision so that we have some more parameters on what can be done and what can't. And but yeah, it's unforgivable that they have an issue.
At this point, really, this is the DV 2020 lottery that we're talking about. It's 4 years for these people. It is wildly unfair.
And again,
outrageous that Biden appealed this. I'm still pissed off that Biden appealed.
I am not a gambler by any means, but I would say that if there was the glimmer of hope that I see, if I had to put money on it, it would be that Henderson is writing a lengthy dissent and is taking time to do it. Too much, but.
Yeah,
there is the chief judge on the case who could also say, hey, I think we need to do something.
Did you get on his live and ask him that question last week,
Yes, no, I did not.
Oh, come on, man.
I know.
I'm sure somebody did.
Man, that is who wants to be on the Supreme Court, is all I can tell you.
Smart guy.
No, if Sotomayor retires, as she should, since she apparently is tired. Did you see her comments yesterday, Jess?
No.
She was at Stanford someplace. Said, I'm exhausted. Every time a decision comes out, I'm exhausted. All right, simple solution while Biden's president. Retire effective June 30th, 2024, and have a new person in place on July 1. Really easy. Don't pull a Bader on us. Don't pull again. Don't do again.
She's not all that old, though.
Oh no, she's in her 70s.
But we don't want her to quit while the Senate changes hands. The Senate changes hands, or Trump wins. It's like
she's like diabetes. I mean, she's not healthy.
Yeah.
Well,
in her younger days, she kicked my behind when I worked for the government multiple times up there. In the 5-minute arguments that she took every bit of those 5 minutes to tell me I was wrong multiple times. So
I would miss her, but you know what?
Yeah, I hear you.
The problem for Srinivasan, I think, is he's not political enough. He today, SCOTUS, it's all about what politics do you have, and he's not political. He's not Democrat enough, I don't think.
Well, he strikes me as someone like Judge Mehta. He's too reasonable. Like he's too down the middle. He's a judge.
Mehta was in the news recently too, lecturing. Navarro. He sent Navarro to jail.
Oh shit! Yeah,
the Navarro case, man. So
good. Yeah. Good for him.
Good for him. It's exactly right. It's exactly right. So no news on Go and Gomez. Well, as soon as we do, we'll go live immediately the moment we have any news. I think there's been a lot of other news that came out yesterday.
Yeah.
The money grab has started. Here comes the money grab from the immigration.
I uploaded both the two new regs to my AI, and we're having there's a bit of a technical issue with the PDF. It's just driving me crazy because I want to ask it a million questions, but it'll be ready probably in the next hour. But one of those regulations, or both of those regulations, are going to be the subject of a big lawsuit. Probably both. But on there, the fee regulation for sure. I already know somebody who's working on that, who's a serious litigator. But it's Chuck, I don't have problems with fee increases from time to time. What they end up doing though is they're totally out of proportion to how much work the agency takes on the cases. They do them once in a blue moon, and then it's a huge increase at one time, which slams people. But the idea of raising your fees from time to time is okay, I think. It's just there's a lot of specifics in there about what the particular fees and what's reasonable and what's not.
Well,
but I don't know what you're thinking. I mean, what you think about it, but I don't have problems necessarily with the idea of fee increases. I just have obviously we expect better service with higher fees, which I don't think we're going to see.
no,
But
I know Jesse's really interested in this. I will note this one thing. The proposed rule from several months ago had higher fees than these. And they said because of the efficiencies gained over the last 6 months, they don't have as big an increase, which I find laughable. But Jesse, I'd love to get your input on this.
I think there's definitely going to be litigation. I've already kind of been toying with it. I did the first fee rule that we stopped, but that was a different issue because we didn't have someone who could actually promulgate rules for DHS at the time. Yeah. But I mean, I think there's two legal issues that I see. Is one, for the EB-5 increases, they were required to do a fee study when they reinstituted the regional centers. And so for them to increase fees without complying with Congress's rule on a fee study after 1 year, that to me seems legally suspect. Yeah, so I know that's going to be taken on. And I think the second one is it appropriate by regulation to take an extra chunk of change from an H-1B employer specifically to use for another humanitarian-based application? I know Congress can do it. I don't know if that can be done, but
I'm actually pretty sure they're prohibited from doing that.
Yeah, so that is also probably the two legal kind of arbitrary, capricious, unlawful, whatever. And then I don't know again who's taking it on. I'm sure there'll be. If it were me, you probably want to have multiple lawsuits, and you have to act quick because they put an April 1st date on it. So you're going to need to enjoy.
Yeah. So question is whether you sue for the. I mean, are you suing basically just to kill one piece of the regulation, or just to stop the whole regulation?
Well, it's funny you say that because when we did the first one, and it was, we targeted wolf, but then we targeted. Then it was in that rule that was suspect was the naturalization increases that were going up like 1,000%.
Yeah,
and so we didn't take on any of the employment-based increases on the merits, and we were nervous that the judge was going to sequester or sever the rule. But he just said, hey, listen, APA says set it aside. I got to set it aside. I think, federal judges can do really what they want to do. But if it were me, I think the whole rule either needs to be instituted or paused or set aside until.
Jess, quick question. The judge did actually give a final judgment on the old fee rule, right? Or is it still pending in his court?
No, it's still pending, actually. We kind of, it's there. And so I know I'm not part of litigation anymore, unfortunately, but I know it's still on the active docket. And there was some concern. I don't know what the thinking is, but there was some concern that if we win on this and set aside this rule, then the old rule would come back. But those fees never went into place, and there's no forms where they could actually do it.
Right.
So to me, I'd love to. I mean, open mind to see the other side of that, but I don't see that. I don't see like there's going to be because this rule's enjoined, the wolf rule comes back. I don't see it.
Well, I'm looking at some of the fee increases. In EB-5, you mentioned briefly where it's going from around $3,000 to $10,000.
No, it's insane.
I mean, there's literally no justification for that. And the removal of conditions is like $13,000. Yeah. I mean, there's just simply no justification for that whatsoever. No rational justification.
The crazy thing is they're doing it by ability to pay. But when they did pass the Reform and Integrity Act in 2022, they said, hey, we want you to do a study. And so that you can get your processing times. I think it's down to, there's specific deadlines they want to process petitions. It's like 240 days. And I think, they really looked hard at that EB-5 program and they said, hey, we need a fee study and you have a year to do it. And they blew it off. And now they're going to put through these, 1,000%. I mean, it's crazy that they would have that. And they said,
they'd have lawyers that would look at this
In the rule, they addressed the comment because there was a comment on this very issue, and I read it, and the comment said, "Oh, we have a working group to we're going to be getting to that fee study thing," and the problem is, it's like, no, you don't understand. That has to come first. Like you can't tell me that you need to raise it to 11,000 for whatever petition. I mean, because the 829s are insane too. Like
13,000. So,
and there's 66 months, and the statutory deadline to do that is 180 days maximum.
It is unbelievable. Well, even looking at the other stuff, you look at I-140s going from they didn't increase them, 700 to 715, but they increase L's from 460 to 1385.
They hate L's.
TNs, which cannot take them more than 4 minutes to adjudicate. Really, 4 minutes. It's an easy. Do you have the degree? Is a job they agree? That's literally all it is.
Are you Canadian?
$460 to $1,000. I mean,
what's crazy is like we should be, and then, to give them a little bit of credit, there's no more fees for the victims of severe forms of trafficking, things like that. So they're reducing fees for I know it's a small program.
The thing, Jesse, nobody ever paid a fee for that.
I know. Yeah, I know.
There's no fee for that. That's a joke that they're saying that.
But I mean, there's certainly they're saying, hey, it's ability to pay. They're admitting that it's based on ability to pay, but it's also who we prefer, what types of visas we prefer. Because if you look at, I mean, and it's very clear that they're trying to decrease the amount of certain petitions that are being.
Sure, they want to decrease EB-5s. No, here's
the L's
for the 485, the green card, which today is $1,225 and includes your advanced parole and your work permit, is now $1,440, not including those things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, I mean, this is a money grab. This is a big ass money grab. And the last thing I'll mention on this is the massive stupidity of these people. I'm sorry, I don't know any other word for it. They want to raise the H-1B lottery fee from $10 to $215. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. None. But they missed the deadline by 2 weeks to get that done.
How much money are they going to lose, Chuck, on that?
I mean, let's say there's 500,000 applications and they're going to miss $200 on each one, $50 million.
Yeah.
$50 million that they're not getting.
Well, and it would deter the problem that they recognize, which is people filing frivolous registrations.
Well, so I think the good news now is that's irrelevant at this point.
Yeah,
that's now irrelevant because
it's still money. It's still money off the table.
Greg, and
they could have spent that money on basically keeping their fees down. $50 million. Or they could have given it to our Ukrainian plaintiffs since they probably already spent all their fees.
That's going to be in the lawsuit. That's going to be in the lawsuit. So literally, you could have kept your fees down by getting this done 2 weeks earlier, or even better, it's an emergency rule, 30 days.
No.
I mean, holy jamolies, Batman.
Yeah, I think, and again, I think with the fee rules, I think, Greg said it best, they do this once every 20 years. They wait for people to forget that they promised the same promises were already made last time. And then they come up with them again and say, hey, this is going to solve everyone's problems. And they're going to, I think they even admit, I think I saw a tweet from Aaron about like, hey, this is intended to keep pace.
Yeah.
Like they're not, so what about we can't keep pace. It's
impossible. All right. I got to ask for this next one. So while we're here, the GOP Immigration Bill in the Senate, which it looks like it's not even going to pass the Senate now. It looks like
it's bipartisan, Chuck.
What's hilarious about this is that Johnson does not understand why this is good for him. He doesn't understand.
Right. He got everything he ever wanted in that bill, but Trump does not want Biden to actually ever get credit for it. It is it's kind of funny. I mean, this bill is not happening. And usually, Chuck, I'm like the optimist on legislation. But we all know it's not happening. The media knows it's not happening. Everybody knows it's not happening. And it's just sort of like a gift to Biden because he can just basically say, I was ready to sign the strongest immigration bill, the toughest immigration bill in history, and the Republicans killed it, the do nothing Congress. So, the only thing I'm worried about is not so. I mean, it's great for Biden as far as sort of like giving him a really good counter argument on that issue for the election, but have they created a marker basically for when the Democrats one day are in a position to basically drive some legislation as far as sort of like what are minimally required provisions in an immigration bill? That's what I'm worried about, is that when they actually are serious and are able to pass immigration legislation, is this going to be sort of like now the defined level? And we saw that, Chuck, you'll remember back in the 06, 07 days, where once that language was in that Title I or whatever, Title I and Title II, it survived multiple versions of efforts to do reform, and it was sort of like, all right, this is like what this is where we are on that, and that's going to stay in every future bill until some later time.
It was in the 2013 bill, if you remember, the helicopters. They say, you want helicopters? We'll go to the Border Patrol, 50 Apache attack helicopters. Everything's in the bill. Here's the good reality of this, though. This is the worst bill that there can be. And it's still not as bad as it could be. It's not. I've never seen the language, but I've seen some of the stuff. It's not as bad as it could be if Trump wrote this bill or if Stephen Miller wrote this bill. And if the Dems do get a chance in the future and they say, okay, we're going to take this, but here's what we're also going to do. It's going to be a legalization program. We're going to open up legal immigration. We're going to add numbers. We're going to do all this other stuff. We're going to do this too. Who's left to complain at that point? Now, the downside to Biden is he's going to lose some progressives over this until the progressives realize, was he ever serious? Really? Did Biden always know? And I would say he did. That Johnson would never go for this. Trump would never. Trump is an open book. He is a wide open book. You can read him like better than tea leaves. All right. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if I were advising Biden, I would have to seriously advise him to consider saying he would sign this bill just because he knows that it's never going to happen. He's never getting that bill. That bill is never getting to his desk. So you might as well take advantage of the fact.
Yeah, and just tell everybody, "Oh, I was just kidding, man. We're not going to do that." Here's his response: is we gave them their chance and they couldn't do it. When you re-elect me and you will put Democrats in the Senate and Democrats in the House, we're going to pass a real immigration bill. Boom.
Well, I mean that to me is where what he should have done, I guess, maybe in the midterms, but for certain now, immigration is issue number one. Besides, maybe
Jesse, can you imagine in your lifetime that immigration would be the number one issue?
I think that's actually not. I mean, it is the number one issue for the Republicans, but it's a big tell that they don't feel like the economy is a strong issue for them anymore.
Yeah,
because that is the only thing that voters care about at the end of the day. That's always going to be the number one issue, and all of the wind is at Biden's back on that issue right now. And they are just looking for something, and it's not going to be a winner for them in the end. Most people are still, at the end of the day, going to vote based on whether they think unemployment's low, inflation is low, and generally speaking, they have money in their pocket to spend on, around that time of the year on their Christmas gifts.
What this also shows you is the power of the media. Because if you look at this just by the numbers, let's take the worst possible number that in Stephen Miller's nightmare, that 5 million people came in last year. Okay. That's 0.2% of the American population. Yeah. It's a nothing burger. It's a giant nothing burger. And at the end of the day, most people, regardless of party, love immigrants. People do remember their immigrant roots. They do. And so there's this, you're going to get the 20% anti-immigrant people. The rest of people are like, this is not, it's all.
And those are people that were already voting for Trump. So there's not that's the thing about it. Republicans are so stupid. They're not going to get any new voters on this issue.
The missed opportunity, I think, and Biden historically has not he doesn't understand the value of employment-based immigration and family-based. But I mean, to tie it to the economy, to tie it that the reason where Amazon and AI and we're bringing stateside manufacturing back for technology and the biotech, and all of that is tied and dependent on continued immigration and the retention of talent. And he's never really made that connection. He's kind of run away from it and saying it's a labor issue and we got to do no. Unions need them people. Those people, they sign on and they become union members. Like they become union workers.
They will be union members.
Yeah. So I don't understand. He needs to kind of have the Tim Cooks of the world and the Microsofts come around to the fact that, hey, without a large increase in specialty skilled workers, we're not going to survive the AI revolution. And that to me, Greg, you should be the spokesman for it. We should get you out there running, because that's where it's going. And if we lose the talent battle, we're not going to be able to do it.
It's all about the numbers, baby. Yeah. Hey, hello. Judicious. Why aren't we on Twitter Spaces? I'll tell you why we're on Twitter Spaces, because we can't simultaneously broadcast to Twitter Spaces and YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and everywhere else at the same time. That's why we're not on Twitter Spaces. Now you get Elon to fix that. You let us know. We'll be able to do it. How many plaintiffs have been approved in the 601 case? I think Greg last week was 80 last week.
Yeah, you can tell I'm on my iPhone today. I do not have access to that at the moment. But they were up to, what is it, August 2020 or September 2020?
August.
Yeah.
So it's a good chunk. T. Lyons, any other approvals this week to pass 601 waivers? Not that I'm aware of. For the T. That's why Aaron wished everybody was approved, and then he wouldn't write a brief. But government's not smart enough to make his job easier. Ash, wife apply for I-130 for spouse. PD 1023. Will the precedent come down in 6 months? They promised beginning of 2023 on I-130s. Yeah, well, it's a pyramid scheme, or it's a Ponzi scheme. I forget what it is. They took your money to adjudicate a case that was filed a year ago. So whenever they get paid to do your case, they'll do it. I will tell you that my experience, we do a lot of I-130, 8 to 10 months for spouses of U.S. citizens, 8 to 10 months. If it's a permanent resident spouse, then it's probably about 3 years, 2 to 3 years. So it just depends on what your status is. And morning, any updates on AI executive order immigration provisions? Aaron, I don't think so. I haven't seen anything. Have you?
No, I haven't heard anything new coming out of the White House on executive or regulations tied into that. No, the only regulations, I guess they've been really focused on these 2 regulations that just came out.
Right.
There was I was going to say there was that first EO telling the agencies basically to favor anything with the AI in it, or
automatic AI, automatic green card if you have an AI. Boom, boom, with a 2-year wait.
Which, by the way, is I don't see anything showing that. If anything, we're seeing all sorts of weirdo ones. When Kazarian is being applied left and right. We just had I saw somebody that talked to me about a Kazarian denial of an AI person on there. So we know that they're just ignoring that. Yeah.
You gotta go. I'm telling you. That decision.
They know to litigate. But
that decision we got on the Kazarian reversal that we had for that professor. Yep. I'll tell you, they try to play that game on the second step, but they do it's tough to do that if you find this 4 or 3 or 4 or 5 criteria. They tie themselves in knots when they shouldn't even get there.
We had one where they agreed on all of the criteria, 7 of them. In a case, and they still denied on a Kazarian. We made her big behind the scenes, and they reversed it without having to do anything, only because it was an important employer who made it clear that there were big implications for U.S. workers if they didn't fix it. But they played those games.
It's really the number of Trump-loving examiners doing these cases is beyond belief. There's a guy that keeps going on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Oh no, he's defending all their paroles and all their wonderful stuff they do, and then what Biden did is terrible. What Obama did was terrible. It's like, screw you, bud. Do your job. Just exercise justice. It's not your job to be political. All right. I probably got in trouble for saying that, but that's okay. Not the first time my mouth has got me in trouble. Good to see you guys. I think it's been a great week. Thank everybody for tuning in. Oh, one more question here. Are H4 ED extensions along with H1, H1 premium processing? My experience, Greg, is if you file it together, they're supposed to keep them together now. They changed it last year.
Yep.
So
that's right.
But the EAD is not premium process. The H4 is premium process, but not the EAD.
I think that's right also.
So they'll adjudicate the 539 and 129, but they will not. 765 will be a little bit of a lag, but it won't be what it used to be, which was never.
Yeah, it's only 6 months now, so you're good. All right, you guys have a great week. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.